My name's Sasha Pete, and I'm joined by the legendary Sydney Olympic and Socceroo, Peter Katholos. Welcome, the Cat.
How are you, buddy? Thanks for having me.
So it's such a pleasure for you to join a true artist and playmaker of the game. I remember watching you play in the NSL in the 80s as a young boy, and it was a pleasure to watch. So let's rewind back. You were born in Myrisini in Peloponneso in Greece, but you grew up in Athens. How did you fall in love with our great game?
Mate, back in the day when I grew up, all the kids, we used to play soccer. We used to play in the streets, in the dirt fields. Some of us, didn't have any shoes, and we hardly, we played with a plastic ball. Everyone played soccer. I mean, that's what we did in Greece, in the back streets of Athens, and that's how I fell in love with the game.
Okay.
And I say, since I met that soccer ball, I never sort of separated with it.
And your family migrated to Australia when you were age 9, and probably a typical migrant story. Please tell us about.
Yeah, look, 1971 we came to Australia. We travelled with the Patris, like a lot of Greeks did. 30 days in the Indian Ocean. Coming to Australia, we landed in I remember South Adelaide first, and then we went to Melbourne. Then the final destination was in Sydney. I still remember the big waves in the coming in with that big ship, but it was certainly an adventure. And I look back at it now, and I say to my parents, how did they ever take that gamble to leave their country of birth, and obviously their friends and family, to go to in a country where they knew no one. I mean, because we really had no relatives. We had no one in this country, and what an adventure that was.
And so obviously you gravitated to football. You played junior football at Canterbury, I understand.
Yeah, look, I played at Canterbury. I mean, I played at Canterbury. I remember my parents wanted me to go to Greek school,
Okay.
and I couldn't. They wouldn't let me go and play soccer, or football, And I used to argue and fight, and say, no, I want to play soccer. And they go, no, you got to go to Greek school. Yeah, and that was Saturday. It was clashing, and then eventually I ended up, going and playing association football for Canterbury. But in the meantime, I used to play at school. I used to play at school, every day.
Yes.
Morning, lunchtime, after school. Indoor soccer. It was never ending. So soccer was really part of my life from an early age.
And I suppose that's where you spent hours, this unorganised play with your friends, just having a kick, just playing in the street, playing in the park.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Look, I'll tell you a story. I remember going to first form at Belmont Boys High School, and I was 12 years old, and or 12, 13. I remember, going and playing soccer, and after a couple of sessions, the sixth formers used to play there, and they used to pick me in their team.
Beautiful.
So that, for me, like, that was so even from a young age, I was sort of fitting in with the older crowd, and it was fantastic.
And you made your first grade debut as a 17-year-old. Tell us how.
It's a funny story. Walter Tamandel was, the famous Walter Tamandel, the Austrian international that came to Australia and played for Prague. He was my coach in the under-16s at Canterbury Association, and he took over Canterbury Marrickville, which is the famous Canterbury team that Johnny Warren and Joe Vlasic and Joe Watkins and all these guys came from. And then he basically asked me to come along, and he took over the first grade job. at 17 years old, 16 and 9 months, I remember I was playing first grade, and my first game was at Garside Park against Sydney, Croatia, and I had to mark Adia Bonni, which was the
Yep.
one of the stars of Australian soccer back in the day.
Yes.
I could never forget. It was unbelievable.
Yes, what a great player he was. And so, in terms of you ended up playing very quickly. In '79, you ended up at St George. Tell us about your time at St George.
Yeah, look, I spent 2 years at Canterbury Marrickville, and then I went to St George. I had a option to go to Sydney Olympic back in the day, but Joe Blassis, which was my state coach, and Joe Blassis was an Australian, the Australian Socceroo coach at one stage. He was my coach in the state team, and he basically recommended me to go to St George, and I did, and I spent 2 good years there, it was my upbringing really,
Yes.
to football.
Fantastic. And then the great Tommy Docherty, the ex Scotland, Chelsea, Man United manager, ended up coaching the Sydney Olympic and brought you across as a 21-year-old.
Well, that was unbelievable. When Tommy Docherty came across from the UK to coach Sydney Olympic, it was like, what a buzz around Sydney Olympic or Australian soccer at that time, because here we are, we've got a coach of United, former coach of the Scotland national team, and he's coming to coach a team in Australia. It was like the biggest buzz. Look, for me, it was like it was incredible, because Tommy really, really liked me as a player. He made me captain. He announced in the press that I was the best young player he's ever worked with. And he also told me, he goes, look, Kat, he goes, I want you to wear my number 4, my shirt.
But he didn't understand you were a playmaker, right? The playmakers wear number 10.
Yeah, and I said, Doc, I can't wear number 4. I said, I'm number 10. And it was an incredible moment. But
yes.
I said, I'm number 10, Doc. I said, I can't wear number 4. Number 4 is for defenders. Number 10 is for the playmakers.
Yes.
That was a
funny
moment.
Guess. Fantastic. So, okay. So for me, when I think about your time at Sydney Olympic, I think about the Greek community, obviously backing Sydney Olympic, you playing, I mean, you had 2 stints there. Do you look back at your time in your football career and thinking, okay, the greatest memories that I had in my time, was it Sydney Olympic?
Look, let me share something with you. Before I joined Olympic, I was asked to go to Olympiacos for a trial.
Okay.
And I remember the day, and I was leaving. When I was leaving, the Sydney Olympic, the president, that passed away, John Constantine, and the committee came to my house to sign me up before I left for Greece. And now when I went to Greece, they offered me a contract straight away by Olympiacos. I remember I went training on a Tuesday, and my first session on a Wednesday, I was at the offices that wanted me to sign a contract.
Yeah.
But they said, oh, you've already signed a contract with Olympic, and that was a really funny time, because I would have ended up being in Greece back in 1980 instead of playing for Sydney Olympic, because at that moment I decided to come back to Olympic to honour the contract, because I just signed before I left. It was an incredible moment. But look, looking back in that time, I mean, Sydney Olympic was a great part of my football life. But look, I continued with Marconi. I continued with Arbia. I basically I wanted to keep on playing. I mean, Sydney Olympic at one particular moment decided that they had excess midfielders, Vince Estavillo, Peter Rascopoulos, myself, Eddie Thompson at the time decided that he had surplus players, and that's why I left and I went to RB Leica.
Well, I mean, so and probably to the benefit of those who supported Apia. So Rally Rasic was the coach then at Apia. Is that correct?
Yeah, Rally took me on. Look, it was a really tough time for me at that. I remember 1980. That particular moment. There was a transition where Sydney Olympic wanted to, a lot of the Sydney City players were coming across to Sydney Olympic because of Eddie Thompson. So, I was let go a week before the season started in '87.
Oh wow!
I was really fortunate that I found a club. It could have been a decisive moment in my career. Then Rally decided, yeah, okay, Kat, I'll give you. I'll take you on, but don't expect you guys don't expect to be starting because I've got my squad ready already. So I had to really fight hard and work hard to get in that 11. Believe it or not.
So was Charlie Yankos there in '87 in that championship side?
We had an absolute super team.
Yes.
That team was Charlie Yankos there. It was Anna Batonia, Alex Bondallo, Terry Butler, Peter Drudenick, Gary Ward up front, Hilton Phillips. We had a great team.
Yes.
We absolutely had a. Tony Pizzona was in goals. Terry Greedy was backup keeper, believe it or not, and both were Aussie internationals. So it was a really DeMarini, JP DeMarini on the left back. Yeah, some great players.
So short time there, and then you decided to move across to Marconi the following year. So
after I remember playing for Apia, and I scored against Marconi a couple of times, and they made me an offer really that I really couldn't refuse. So I went across to Marconi. I mean, we won the championship with Apia, and then I went across to Marconi, and and that was some great years there because we won the comp '88, we won the comp in '89.
Yes.
And we were grand finalists in 1990. So that was 3 great years for me.
And so Bertie Mariani was the head coach, but there was a lot of other quality players. So Zlatko Nasevsky from memory, and Frank Farina was there at that time.
Yeah.
You had fantastic players. I mean,
look, I think I look back in my career and the teams that I played with. You have to have confident leaders, in the spine of the team. And I went to teams where I was a confident player. I wanted the ball, but there was also good players, other players that were strong characters.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, I remember Marconi, guys like Tony Henderson and Frank Farina and JB DeMarini came across. Paul Carter, Paul Ocon later on. There were some strong characters and good players that I played with. So I was very fortunate.
Okay, so let's sort of backtrack.
But the Cat influence rubbed off on all of them.
Oh yes,
because
of course.
Wherever I went, we won something. That wasn't a coincidence.
You were the one pulling the strings, right in the middle.
Well, I mean, I look back in Olympic. We won 2 cups. We were in the finals a few times. Then I go to Apia. We won the comp. I'll go to Marconi. We've won the championship 2 years in a row, and then we end losing the grand final. So I was in the semi-finals and finals. Lots of my time in my career. It was a really good, successful time.
So, and in 1982, so just backtracking before you'd won all these championships, you won Best Player of the Year. Tell me about that season in 1982 for Olympic.
Well, in 1982, look, I 81, I absolutely killed it. Right, I was very confident. I don't mind saying, but it was like, okay, I'm going to go out there, and I want to be, I want to be it. So
Yep.
I wanted the ball. I wanted to showcase myself. So that's what it was. I mean, I had hunger. I wanted to excel. 82 is just continuation of 81. Scored a lot of goals, set up a lot of goals, and stood out as a footballer because I played, like I said, I like you said before, I played the game where I'm trying to create goals for my team, and I'm trying to score goals. I wasn't one of these players that kick people. I was, I believe football is, playing football, creativity, and what people want to see. So that's the type of player that I was.
Yeah, fantastic. And you also play with Olympic. You played with some fantastic players. So who can forget Marshall Soper? I mean, I remember you connecting with him. He was like enigmatic as a striker. And
one of the best. I mean, one of the best. Him and Slacken and Stesky, probably two of the best strikers I played with. Marshall, left, right foot. Good head of the ball. Volleys. Good off the mark.
Yes.
Great player. But look, there was Jimmy Redfern, there was Mark Kousas, there was a lot of good guys that I played with. Graham Jennings, left back, good wing player. Raskopoulos in the middle of the park. Chris Galantis, Jimmy Patikas, Jimmy Zeros at the back. Some Gary Meyer, some really outstanding players.
And and it was the great Feresh Pushkash that once said that he thought that you were the best technical player in Australia. And so, sorry?
Well, didn't think. He was right because he that was a big accolade for me. I remember seeing him at Middle Park when he was coaching South Melbourne. I was playing for Marconi, and he basically shared that moment with me. And look, that's a big big call from a big player to be given that accolade, and I treasure that, and I treasure that for life.
Fantastic. So, and you also played against some fantastic players in the NSL. So, if you could say who would be the players that that you thought that you admired that you didn't get to play with as teammates, but you got to play against, and so you admire them.
Yeah, look, I look. One of my best mates is Alan Davidson. I spent time with him in the national team, and Alan, I respect him as a footballer. Although he played for South Melbourne and Melbourne Croatia and all these clubs. But the other one is Oscar Carino, one of your favourites, and I enjoyed playing against Oscar, and we always had a good tussle. A lot of respect both ways. Guys like a Jarkov is another guy, I highly respected in the middle of the park. All these guys, creative players, and they're footballers. So I like footballers. So and people that could play the game with with creativity and
the ball at their feet and pulling the strings and being that playmaker type in the middle of the park.
Football is about to be able to see something and play. It's this structured football these days that I watch, and players are sort of told you got to play there, you got to go there, you got to do this, and you got to do that.
Yes.
And the thing is, for me, it's like when you're on the field, you've got to make decisions according to the moment.
Yes.
And this is players that need to express themselves. And no coach told me, Peter, look, this is the way I want you to play. I remember Tommy Docherty says, Cat, you're the best. Go and kill them. They're the instructions. How could I not play? What do you want me to do, Doc? Doc said, Cat, go and kill them. That's it. They're my instructions.
And so I think you're right. Today, there's this idea, keeper plays it to the right back, the right places it to the right wing. The right wing's now going to try and do this. There's so many patterns of play, but football is chaos. And so what we need to encourage the players to do is understand how they're going to get out of situations in that chaos. So
you're right. Every moment, every second, that image, that picture changes. You've got to, I mean, if a coach is telling you, look, this is what I want you to do when you get the ball, at the end of the day, that might not be the case when the actual time to play that moment, because it might change. The defender might shut the other play down or whatever. So you got to play accordingly. And look, this is football. This is the way. Why you need footballers that can think and make good decisions in the right moment. That's what football is all about.
And feeling comfortable in tight positions. So when you're getting closed down, to be able to, like what you were able to do. If my hands were your feet, you were able to get the ball and go tuck around the player, and you're out of the hole, and you've left two players for dead.
My players, they used, some of them used to say to me, "Oh, look, you're marked. I can't pass you the ball. You're marked." I said, "No, you don't understand. If you pass me the ball, right? If I'm able to play a 1-2 or do that, flick or whatever, I'm going to lose my defender. Then I'll create a 2-on-1 situation." So the beauty is, you've got to think how you're going to beat and utilize to beat that defender. You know what I mean? It's all creativity. I used to try to encourage my players and try to tell them, listen, when I'm marked, don't worry, play it to me. I want it anyway, because I might pull 1 or 2 defenders and somebody else might be free. You know what I mean? So there's a strategy. There's a madness to the. There's a strategy to the madness.
Yes. In between Sydney Olympic, you spent a year in Greece at Larissa. Is that right? Were you a professional footballer when you went there into the Greece First Division?
Well, I eventually went to Greece. I mean, like I said, in 1980, I was offered to Olympiakos, a contract with Olympiakos. In 1982, I was offered a contract with Panathinaikos.
Okay.
Which I didn't take because I wanted to play in the national team, blah, blah, blah. And then I decided to go in 85. I decided to go back to Larissa and back to Greece and go and play for Larissa. Before I went, I did my medial ligament. I had a medial ligament operation. We're playing against Sydney City. So I got to Larissa a little bit not as fit as I would have liked to be.
Yeah.
So that sort of set me a little bit back. But look, in saying that, Larissa was an experience and a half. I experienced the Greek Glikes. I experienced playing for a team not in the cosmopolitan cities, because I was at a basically like a country town.
Yes.
I try to. I learned so much because it's very, very. Although I was Greek, I was born in Greece. I was not a Greek. I was an exceptional.
Yeah,
I was. Yeah, it was like incredible. I said, "What are you guys talking about?" I said, "I'm one of you guys. I was born in Greece." They used to call me Australo, and I really had a hard time trying to sort of fit into that environment.
And it's probably the experience of many Aussie boys who go overseas, and regardless of your background, it's not going to be easy. They're not going to let you in. The term click up, so for those who don't know what it is, the groups of people who hold the first team football, you're coming in, you're going to take somebody's spot.
And I'll share this with you. At the time, and I shouldn't have gone to Larissa because the coach was Strelao. He was a Polish national team coach, and he brought in Kupcevic, which was he played for the World Cup for Poland national team. So a Polish coach brings a Polish player. Then they had Garapiali, which was a young aspiring talent from the Larissa, which they wanted to promote, and he was a number 10. There was another guy, Andreudi. He was the 10 that was playing. And he's Peter Katholos from Australia, also a number 10, trying to play for Larissa. So, yeah, my choice of to go and play for that team, I should have known better. And this is what I try to discuss with players today is like, you got to do your homework. Whoever is trying to sell you overseas, you got to do homework about, players and, have they got a deficiency in that position? It's not just, doing the deal. It's the fact is you've got to go over there. You got to play. Otherwise, if you sit on the bench or you're waiting for 3 or 4 months to get a game, you're gone.
The season could be a waste. I think that's the important thing, that every player plays at the level where they're going to get minutes. And I think so many players play maybe at a level where they waste a year or waste 2 years. And you cannot, football in training is one thing, but football in a game is a completely different thing. And you need the minutes on the park.
That's what I used to, that time in Larissa, it killed me as a footballer, because I couldn't stand not being on the park. And I remember, look, I used to go to training, and I remember the coach, because I wanted to kick these blokes. I was so angry. I was like an animal because I wanted to play. And then when it came down to game time, he says, "Oh, Peter, you go and do some shooting," because he didn't want me to injure any of the players that are playing on the weekend. I was furious because I wanted to play, and then I left. I mean, after a year, I was so frustrated. I said, "Oh, look, stick your money up your backside. I don't want your money. Give my clearance. I want to leave. I want to go back to Australia and play soccer," and that's what I did.
Fantastic, and Apia and Marconi are grateful for it. Obviously, you returned back to Sydney Olympic straight after.
But look, Sash, the lesson here is this for all the players that want to go overseas. First of all, you need to prepare yourself and be ready. Yep. You need to be tough, and you also need to make decisions. Whoever is the agent, well, they need to make sure that you're going to play. You're not just going there to be part of the 25-player squad, because let me tell you that all those players, they're no slouches. Everyone is dying to play. They're training. Everyone's getting stuck in there. It's like dog eat dog there in a professional environment. So there's a lot of things that must be taken into account when someone wants to sort of go overseas and make a career overseas.
Very true, and I know that you help many players, and we'll dig down on what you're currently doing now. But I'd like to sort of backtrack now a couple of years, because you represented our country, sir, many, many, many times. Probably not as many as you would have liked or I would have liked, but over 20 times for our country, and you were man of the match in 11 of those games. So I can...
I like you, Sash. You've done your homework. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've asked Alan Davidson, because me and Alan, we used to compete. Yeah. Who's going to be most games man of the match? And I finished up 11. He was 10. Let me tell you, that's a true story.
So Alan, both Alan and I are Western Suburbs boys. So Alan's not too far from me. But no, I didn't ask Alan. But another great Socceroo, and who can forget him at right back tearing it up, and you in the centre of the park pulling the strings. So, but I really want to talk about that game in 1983, and you're playing England. Where I think you delivered a masterclass. Tell me about the build-up to that game, and tell me about how it felt like to play against some of the world's best.
Well, let me tell you, that was probably one of the highlights of my career, because I remember that particular game because it was a big deal. We're playing against England. There's Peter Shilton, there's Trevor Francis, there's John Barnes, Luther Blissett, some really big name players that came out to Australia. And then, we're playing against these guys. And I remember at the time there was a guy that was transferred to Inter Milan, I think it was Gordon Cowans.
Yeah.
And he was 10 million. I think it was 10 million pounds or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah. And I was playing against him. And Steve Williams was also the captain of Southampton at the time. And I thought, you know what? This is a time to prove how good, that I am as a footballer. It was a moment where I really wanted to showcase my ability. Anyway, and that particular day, I remember at Sydney Cricket Ground, I basically, I took him apart. I It was a highlight for me, because even Bobby Robson, that was the coach, he basically, he gave me a huge accolade, saying this guy is, he's got an incredible future in front of him. So, people that mattered noticed my ability. Yet, Sash, that particular game, the next game in Brisbane against England, and then the one I played half a game. So I was man of the match at Sydney. I got half a game in Brisbane, and the last game I didn't even get on the park in Melbourne. And that was the last time I played with Frank Garrock, and I asked him. I said, Frank, why don't you play me? And he says, Katholos, he goes, your mind is on making money and beautiful women. I go, what are you talking about? You serious? You're crazy? I said, soccer is my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's his true story.
And I think probably Frank, I mean, from his selections, I can only tell from the outside looking in, probably preferred that hard man, because the Australian team changed after that period. So for me, I love my number 10s to show flair, to show creativity. Like you said earlier, my idol growing up was Oscar Crino. For me to see him pulling the strings in the middle for Footscray Justin and South Melbourne, it was like a pleasure to watch, right? And watching you play, doing the same thing for the Sydney side teams, it was a marvel, right? I wanted to be like you as a kid, to model my midfield play the way you played.
Yeah, well, look, I hear you, and there was a lot of players, a lot of people that admired to be, that type of player.
Yeah.
Yet, myself, Oscar, or Jarkov, these players. Look, we were limited to the internationals really that should have played for Australia, because that era, Frank Garrock believed in, the defensive, hard-working, mad dog midfielder, which was really the start of this. How would I call it? This is, that type of footballer is the destructive footballer. Is not the footballer that the world game wants, and we find ourselves in a situation where we're not producing creative players. And you got to think, back in those days, if those players were encouraged and they were looked upon, well, guess what? Maybe we would have a generation of these footballers that came through, but they weren't encouraged. Players like us were rare because coaches wanted to control those players. They wanted to control. They didn't want to give him the freedom to be able to play what they see. Yeah. And this is look. I go back and I think to myself, it's like we played in a hard era because they didn't really our football ability. Yet, if we played in this era today, you go, oh my God, these guys would be killing it.
It's the current day player, the Ninkovic, the Diego Castro, the people who are pulling the strings in the middle of the park and dazzling. And you guys all did that. Odjakov, Katholos.
It's funny you should say that. It's funny you should say that because these are the guys that I watch and I appreciate. But yet everyone says the same thing. It's like, okay, if we had more of these players, okay, we would find that out, bring in people and crowd. You know what I mean? And then so it is where we players, we need players that express themselves. Azani comes along. He's a dribbler. He takes players on. Guess what? The world's going, the whole Australian's going, oh, my God. But, we only need one Azani. We need 10 Azanis. Yep. We need 20 Azanis. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think for me, in a team, you need a balance. You need the creative team. You need the fast wings. Every player has a purpose. For me as a coach, I wouldn't want 11 Peter Katholos on the park, but I would want my midfield to be like you, right? So that will create something for me in the middle of the park but I don't necessarily need it everywhere on the park.
And you're right. You're right. You can look, players that see things that other players can't see. That's a gift. It's not just something that you can teach.
Yes.
It's a gift. Seeing what's going on behind you when you haven't got the ball and what you're going to play. You know what I mean? I'd get a ball and I know exactly my next move that I could play a 30, 40 meter through ball.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, oh wow, what a pass! It's like, yeah, I've already seen that before I got the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
I hear
you knew how to check, right? So not every player knows how to play 360. The best centre midfielders, like let's say for example, like Frank Lampard, he's doing 5 or 6 checks even before he receives the ball, and that's why he was able to do what he wanted in the middle of the park, because he knew where he was going to put it, because he knew what space was happening around him. So a couple of other Aussie coaches, I remember watching when I did the interview with Gary not long ago, and watching that game, the game against the Fiji, old school Les Scheinflug puffing away on the. How was Les as a coach?
Yeah, look, Les comes across as a hard German, type of discipline. But look, deep down, he's a nice guy, and he treats people well. Look, I had no problem with Les. He appreciated me as a footballer. He was a midfielder. I was a midfielder. He's assistant coach, Raul Blanco. He loved me as a footballer. He was another midfielder. So players that are good footballers appreciate good footballers. So I had not a problem with Les. Les was good with me. And
who can forget Raul Blanco? I mean, arguably, we don't hear much of Raul, but for me, I think somebody that we should look upon more. He's got a lot of experience in the game. So tell me about Blanco and what his influences were.
Raul Blanco was my, he was basically, I was at St. George. He was my first coach at St. George, really, in my first year. I lived very close to him in America. We used to go and train in the mornings. Look, he was, like I said, he was a good footballer. He basically he inspired me to be the player that I was.
Wow.
He was Argentinian. I remember, training, and we used to stay back and practice hitting 40, 50 meter passes with the right and left foot. And I look back in my day, and it's like that sort of training and that sort of accuracy. You do it on the park these days, and it's like wow. But we used to practice that, and Raul was, I have a lot of respect for Raul Blanco, big time.
Wow, yeah. So it's great that these moments are acknowledged, because a lot goes into a footballer. Most fans come and they watch the 90 minutes and they go and then they have opinions, but they don't know actually what happens behind the scenes, the hours of extras, right? So tell me about what you would do as extras. So you got your training 2, 3, 4 times a week. What are you doing by yourself as a player?
Okay, I was a semi-pro, and we had to work. But I was basically, I trained on a Monday on my own. I did the Bay Run. I did 10 kilometers on a Monday. I trained on a Tuesday. I trained on a Wednesday. I trained on a Thursday. I did a little bit on my own on a Friday. Then with a team. On a Saturday, I played with my mates before the NSL game. And on Sunday, I played NSL. So basically, it was a non-stop for me. And that's a true story.
7 days.
And it was exactly. And I used to play on a Saturday afternoon with all the boys, and I used to use that as a warm-up for the NSL game next day. And that game, it used to be probably sometimes a lot harder on a Saturday than on a Sunday.
So you're telling me that before you would go and play for a Sydney Olympic or a Marconi or a RPL, wherever you played with mates, in the park, or you played
Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
It used to be called, we used to call it Little Wembley. and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday.
Okay.
We played every week.
Okay.
In my NSL days, I played every Saturday, without fail. But as long as we were weren't travelling in Melbourne or Adelaide or whatever. But every Saturday it was in Sydney. The game was on.
And where was that?
I used to organise the game.
And where was it played? So for those who were involved, where were the games played?
Look, we played at Belmoyata. That was the start of Little Wembley, and guys like Chris Calantzas, he used to come down.
Wow! I remember watching Chris. I remember watching Chris in the Panathinaikos Olympiakos derby, right? So there you go. All right.
Well, Chris used to live down the road from me. He also went to Melbourne Boys High, and we used to play. He used to come on Saturday afternoons, the Little Wembley. Terry Patalas was another. They used to come. So and then you can imagine now NSL players playing on a Saturday afternoon. Can you imagine the turnout?
Yeah. Did people used to come and watch and want to be involved, or you had to know how to play to play?
Oh no! Not everyone could just come and play. We had Jimmy Zeros. Jimmy Zeros another one. He was every Saturday. Yeah. We Tony Dacos is another one.
Oh, wow. So some big names. So all obviously. These would have been friends of yours and friends of friends who just.
I've never disclosed. This. This is
the first time.
This is exclusive, by the way.
Okay, fantastic.
Exclusive.
And the reason for this is pure football, right? This is mates playing in the park, and this is what got us to love the game as well, right? So you go as a young kid and you organise a 2v2 or a 3v3 or 4v4. You split the teams, make sure it's even. So set up your cones and away you go. I love it.
That's exactly right.
So let's shift gears because after retiring, you went on to coach. Tell us about your first coaching gig.
Well, I coached Sydney Olympic, the Sydney Olympic youth team, and that was in 1994, I think it was. And we won the comp. We won the comp that year. The next year, the same thing. We were in the top, leading the comp, and then I had to. I was called by Les Murray. He was the president of St George. They basically were facing relegation. Relegation to go to. They were in second division and they were facing relegation to go into the third division.
Yep.
And he basically asked me to come across and help out and trying to get St George out of the fire. And I remember the time that he asked many coaches and they all refused. And he goes, "Look, Kat, you're old St George boy. I need you to come and help me. Please come along." So that's what I did. I went along and I did that. And I remember on the last day, I'll share this with you. We had to beat the team that won the comp to avoid relegation, and we did that. So that was a great moment in my coaching career. The next year, we got promoted. We got promoted in the NPL, and we made the finals the year after, which is really, really good. And so that was my coaching career. Then I went across to Apia. I took over Tony Bazzano's. It was a really good year. We made the finals. We were first all year. I think we finished first or second that year. And then basically after that, I quit football because I faced a life event. My young son was diagnosed with cancer, and basically I had to give away soccer coaching and
of course
save his life. That was my soccer career
and
coaching career. Sorry,
but you went on to coach. Your son played was it Belmore under 8s or 9s? You coached him at
I coached my son. My son was at Earlwood Wanderers under 7s or whatever. I coached that, and then as a parent, I got involved in that. And then I coached the under 11s again at Sydney Olympic, which we won the comp again. My son was also part of the team.
And so was that Alex or Jason?
That was Alex.
Yep. Yeah. So
until Alex decided, well, Dad, I don't want to play soccer anymore. I want to play golf. Well, that was it. That was my end of my coaching young footballers. But I did come back. In the SAP program. Alex Tobin asked me to come back.
Yeah,
I was involved with that at Football New South Wales.
Fantastic.
And some of the players that I coached back in the day. There's about 5 or 6 that are playing in the A League at the moment, which is
fantastic. And your daughter Natalie has a kick. I understand that you went saw her play the other weekend.
Oh mate, I couldn't believe it. That was I've never watched her play soccer. I didn't believe that she was she had a lot of ability. I was really surprised. It was a big buzz for me. She wore number 10 and she had Katholos on the back. That was a big buzz.
Yes, I love it. And so now you're more involved in the one-on-one coaching aspect of supporting individuals. You'll get a call from a parent saying, "Kat, I've got a boy or a girl. I want you to help them." What is it that you do?
What I do is I try to make players better as individual. I'm a mentor to them. I try to improve the way they will play their position. So I'm trying to think, how would I play that midfield position or that left back position or the striker? And I do specific drills. They can improve as a footballer, either checking, the way they're thinking, decision making, turns, just all aspects of the game in that particular moment. So I'm coaching left back at the moment. I'm coaching midfielders. I'm coaching strikers. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a real buzz actually.
Yeah, it's amazing when what you get out of helping other people improve. So that notion of working out, taking somebody from this level, and I believe, as I'm only a junior coach, but I believe that when you see somebody progress from this level to this level, right, and you've given them the ability to flourish, it's the player that improves, but you've helped them, you've guided them to.
Well, look, everyone, look, and the thing is, look, what everyone needs someone to basically be an eye for them, a third eye, to see what they're doing in a game. What are they doing wrong? What can they improve on? Little things. It's basically finessing that particular player. And pointing out little things, because at the end of the day, little things are the important things in making that footballer complete. What's the difference between someone getting selected and someone not getting selected at the top level? It's little things. So if all those little things are basically ticked off, when someone's watching a particular player, and he ticks off all the boxes, they can't really ignore him.
Fantastic. And so this is something that you do on a sort of a semi-regular basis, a part-time basis. How does that involve?
No, it's not a full-time job. Look, I've got my hands in a lot of things at the moment. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's one thing I enjoy because that keeps me in touch with football.
Yeah.
Look, I watch a lot of football and Australian soccer, overseas soccer, you name it, I watch it.
Yep.
And I love the game, and it's a passion of mine. But the thing is, I always look how players can become better players. I mean, I'll share with you also Aaron Moy. I remember him playing in a particular game, and I sent him a message on Twitter because he was my friend, and I sent him a private message. I said to him, mate, you've got to be more direct, instead of going sideways. And I remember in one of the games he was, it played more direct, and we created more opportunities, and we won on one of the games. So I don't mind sharing my what I can see. You know what I mean? Even to the think they're they're sort of perfect.
Yes, and this is the thing, that there's so many quality people in football, past quality players, that we should take advantage of and are willing to give. So I'll ask this question direct to you now. If somebody was to tap you on the shoulder and say, listen, Kat, I need you to do X for me, okay? And if you've got the time, I don't know, come and do this seminar, or, you know, I need some advice about what it is that we should do about the game. Are people like you willing to put your hand up and share your experiences and help the game today?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually in the middle of doing this coaching development report for FFA, which I've spent a lot of hours, and I'm actually, you know, I've done a lot of research overseas, locally, you know, talking to national coaches, former, current, you name it, overseas coaches, technical directors, and to how we can improve the. And I've collected a lot of information. The thing is, I've sort of hesitated to produce it because I thought about it, and I'm thinking politically, you know, to make changes, you know, there's going to be resistance. Because we need changes in this game. We need obviously we need to move a few coaches. The coaching education needs to change, the way we coach our coaches, and you know, obviously that's, you know, everyone's got to implement these changes. Now the thing is, with no money available and the politics, I'm a little bit hesitant. I don't believe it can happen at the moment, the way things are at the moment, with, you know, with the COVID and no money in the game, so I've sort of held off a little bit, but look, I'm prepared to put my hand up and help, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us guys that former players that love the game. We love the game. We want the game to prosper. The thing is, they could easily reach out, but obviously. I don't know why they don't. I mean, I've spent my whole life, you know, living this game, and I consider myself a bit of an expert.
Actually, you are an expert.
And if these guys, these coaches that are, you know, these high-ranking coaches would rate me the way they've ranked me, you know what? It's only, like you said, you know, it's only. The right thing, well, not the right thing. It's only come and ask me and say, well, Peter, how did you do it? How can we learn from what you did to implement into you know, our future stars? So look, I don't understand why they haven't, but you know, anyway, we'll see what happens.
So I suppose this is you know, football is it's a simple game, right? Score one more goal than the opposition. But there's layers of complexity, right? And then once you add on the money and the governance and the administration, right, we can get muddy the waters. And I think what we need to do is embrace, because there's a lot of good people in football, and so we just need to communicate. And I'm hoping that this type of forum helps the communication flow. That people like yourself are willing to speak to people like me. I just reached out to you and said, Kat, can we have a chat, right? And he said, of course, right? It was that simple. And so message to anyone who's got a high administrative role in an area of importance, it's as simple as picking up the phone, right? So reaching out on Facebook or Twitter or, you know, any one of the socials, right?
And look, and Sasha, the bottom line is, if we produce better players, we produce a better product that's more attractive. More attractive the product, more money into the game, sponsors, people on bumps on seats, blah, blah, blah. So the bottom line here is producing better footballers. How do we produce those better footballers? By better coaching methods or better coaches.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. That's where we lack, and people don't want to really look at that.
Yeah.
But that's the core of the problem. There's the core of the problem.
And I think where the past players can definitely help is around that specialist area, you know, like for example, a Konbutsianis teaching our best free kick takers how to take a better free kick, for instance, right? And you showing the number 10s how to play in that, to pull the strings, right? These specialist areas, right? And Alan Davidson to teach her how he played in his fullback position. These are all things that, I know Alan can coach all over the park. You can coach all over the park. But it's not, I think we've got that bit sorted, but that those specialist areas, there's plenty of, in the golden generation and then before, this is where each one of you can help these specialist areas.
I agree with you, and I offered myself a national team level because even the national team players would look specific coaches, to an attacking coach, for instance, or a midfield, striker, and then you work with the combinations, you work the way you want to attack, the way you want these players to function, But look, again, it's like gridiron. In gridiron they've got different coaches for different positions, but you're gonna make those players. You're gonna make them better. If you make those players, those individuals better, you're gonna produce a better product. I share with you. I was talking to the show technical director. He came to Australia recently, and I spent a bit of time with him, and he says to me, he goes, Peter, what do you do? I said, I'm a specialist coach. I do one-on-one training. He goes, oh my God. He goes, that's what we do overseas. He goes, we have specific coaches for players for specific positions. And he goes, every year we promote 3 to 4 young players into our first grade squad. But we what they do is they nurture them and they get them right so they can play first grade. So obviously they play first grade and then they sell them to other clubs. That's the way they operate. And we hit a chord there because it's exactly what the game needs in this country. Yes. It's not Peter Katholos only doing it, but there should be a lot more people like me being involved in clubs doing specialised coaching on individual players.
Yes, fantastic. And that's probably a good place to start wrapping up. But I want, if you could give advice to the young player out there whose parent or grandparent might show them this video, one piece of advice to each young player who's aspiring to become better, what would that advice be?
You got to love what you do. Passion. You got to have the passion and the love for what you do. Obviously listen to your coaches, be humble, character is important, but look, you got to love what you do, and you want to be the best, and you got to train to be the best. That's what I did. My aspiration was to be the best, and that's what I, if I didn't end up being the best in whatever, at least I got myself right up there. You know what I mean? That was my plan.
An absolute pleasure. The legendary Socceroo, Peter the Cat Katholos. Thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been an honour and a privilege.
Mate, good on you. Thanks for having me. All the very best, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.